window on the wooden door. Well, she got stuck, but what happened was she got her head into the window. The chair fell.
Oh, shit.
Her body went back and it snapped her neck.
Oh, Jesus.
And she died.
Wait, no way.
Absolutely.
You found her hanging dead?
She was hanging probably 3 feet off the ground from by her neck.
This is a local story?
This is a local story.
It wasn't recently, was it?
This was over 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
It was probably around 2000,
Wow,
21
talk
years
about
ago.
some bad luck.
Yeah, bad luck. Yeah. Don't do drugs.
Yeah, absolutely. Shit.
How many drug addicts have you?
Man.
How many drug addicts have died on your watch?
Oh boy, it wasn't my fault, Dave.
I know. I'm not
my
saying
fault.
I'm not saying they broke in here and you shot them. I'm saying how many died on while you were.
I can say that because I worked in the schools for a few years, and my last count from kids that I knew in the school era, probably 15 to 20 kids.
So these are,
they weren't like 18 necessarily. They were kids who had done drugs in the schools, and then 10 years later they were still doing drugs. Now they're in their 30s, and they died from heroin. It was, you know something? I'm going to tell you, just about every one of them it's
usually opiates.
Was a heroin overdose. We had a call once, 2 kids. This was probably 4 years ago. Not kids. They were in their late 30s. It was a girl. She died on the floor in the bathroom. The boyfriend looked as though he was going to do CPR, and he died right on top of her. So when they found her, he was on top of her. So they both had done this. Yeah, both dead. Both dead.
Both overdosed?
Both overdosed. Jeez. Absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah. In the bathroom, right on top of each other. Wow. Young kids, in their mid-30s, not young kids, but in their 30s. That's young.
And these, when we talked about
these are normal kids. These aren't.
Yeah.
These are kids who went to high school. They were athletes. They went to college. They had jobs.
I've lost probably 15 or 20 from my class.
15, 20 to drugs?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, this is right around the late 90s, early 2000 when the oxys came out and they had that whole big oxy thing, and then it went to heroin. So that 20 years from to where we are today, that's a huge. When you look at statistics of drug overdoses and addicted people and deaths, that 20 years is huge from 2000 to 2021. It's 2021, isn't it, right now? Sure. Yeah. That 20 years, you look at that, and those stats are through the charts. If you went back.
Yeah. No, I've seen, I think, 20% increase in
it's huge.
The opiate.
It's all because of the oxys.
Well, now we got the fentanyl.
Now you got fentanyl.
Yeah. Worse.
Fentanyl's going to be even worse. So you're going to,
The drugs don't seem to get any better through the years. It's like, oh, look what we found peyote. Peyote's not making a comeback. It's not like
it should.
It'd be a lot safer for everybody.
It's a weird one that kind of fell off. Cocaine. I feel like cocaine. I mean, from stories I've heard, it was huge back in the day. But in detox, at least when I was in detox and when I was in like my outpatient program and stuff like that, I think there was one person that I met that was actually there for cocaine.
I can't even remember. The last time I even saw a cop make an arrest when there was cocaine.
Really?
It was either before weed was legal. It was either
what are they doing?
Maybe
now?
some weed, some pills, or heroin. I don't even think they arrest people for cocaine. They just throw it down the toilet. They probably do, but
they take it home.
I know I didn't.
Yeah,
I got a good story. I had when I first started, professional basketball player came cruising through my town.
Okay,
and he had a nickname. I didn't really follow sports, basketball per se, but he had a nickname. Then he had a different name, so I just knew the nickname of the basketball player.
Yep.
So he was
he handed you his ID.
Well, he was on the side of the road,
Joe Schmo,
parked, and he wasn't moving. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? So I pulled up to the car, and nice car, and I said,
"And you only knew him by his nickname."
What's going on, brother? I only knew him by his nickname.
And you said, "So how are you tonight?"
So how you
doing? Magic.
And he gave me an ID. And then I said, "What's your name?" And he told me his nickname. I go, "You play basketball, don't you?" I go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Because I said to myself, "I'm not ruining this guy's career." Right? Yeah. So he had a big bag of weed.
Oh boy! Oh well, that's
and
not
I just grabbed the weed and I threw it out. That's all I saw. And I just threw it down the sewer. There was a sewer right in front of a Chinese restaurant. I just tossed it down the sewer. He had a little buzz on. We towed his car, and his sister came to pick him up.
Perfect.
Yep.
piece of cake.
No harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. He went on to, have a couple of more years in his career, and I said to myself, guess what? I'm not ruining that guy's life. Because he was stoned, and he was like hammered in his car, stoned.
Yeah.
It's
a dicey deal because, that same guy winds up getting into a car crash 2 days later.
Oh, yeah, no, he wasn't driving away.
Yeah.
And this was 20, probably 19, it was probably like 1998, so 20, how many years ago? Do the math. You're pretty smart.
It's fascinating, too, because it's like people always talk about how cops will give breaks to athletes.
Yeah.
And then you look and you say, but sometimes they don't. Bob Kraft, and this is not a drug story, this is a prostitution story.
Oh, yeah.
Do you really think that they would have made a big deal about him if he hadn't been Bob Kraft?
Well, that's
nothing.
He
would have been around him.
Anywhere you go in any town, we'll go off a little bit. How many Asian massage parlors are there in any given community throughout this whole country? It's in their culture. It's what they do.
You would know.
That's what they do.
There's a couple up the street.
Yeah, leave them. Something. I can see if she was underage. Obviously, sex trafficking. Obviously, that's totally different than a 40-year-old lady who's trying to make a buck.
Hey, let me do this to wrap up. I know Cody had a couple of questions. Jay, you might have a few, but if you had to ask a question to a cop, so this is the Addict Ask Questions to the Cop. Dale, I know Cody's got a couple of questions. Jay, if you got any you want to hop in, feel free to ask. What do you want to ask Dale, Cody?
I actually just thought of a new one. So I was wondering, I know a lot of times addicts, when they get caught with drugs by a cop, they give like the most ridiculous bullshit excuse ever. You must have some good ones, like some good story, like some good friggin' ridiculous ones.
The typical is, you find the drugs on a search. If it's obviously legitimate search, they're pulled over in a car or they're hanging out at 2 a.m. and you kind of search their property and they might have a needle or they might have a powdery substance. People will say, "Oh, the powder. What's the powdery substance? Oh, it's sugar. I work at a bakery. It's not. It's usually the one that covers all is it's not mine. I don't know how it got there. It's my girlfriend's. It's my boyfriend's. It's my brother's. It's not my car. It's not my wallet. Whatever it is, it's never theirs.
These Percocets are my grandmother's.
And the pills, and they'll tell you that it's ibuprofen or some other legal drug. But all you have to do is every drug has a number on it. You go on your cell phone, you put in number 28, and they'll tell you, oh, that's codeine. And you'll say, do you have a prescription for codeine? And they'll say yes or no. And they'll say, why isn't it in a bottle? Oh, I lost the bottle. And like I said, every situation's different. You try to help. We have actually a lot of units in police departments, community impact units deal with drug addicted people, and they try to help them. So a lot of times the arrest 5 or 6 years ago isn't always the case nowadays.
Gotcha.
Right? They're not necessarily going to arrest you. They're going to confiscate your drugs. They might summons you to court at some point, but their main thing is to try to get you some help if you want it.
Well,
and
I think a lot of these guys, they need help, not another trip.
Yeah, throwing something.
Hold on, because this is going to lead to the next thing. And I wasn't going to. No, it was good you brought it up because Narcan.
Yeah.
Good or bad?
Let me put it at this
Both.
level. Yep. Cops, firemen, EMTs, paramedics, all carry it.
It should.
And it works. I've gone to calls where people they've looked as though they were dead.
Yep.
And you give them, a few hits of Narcan, goes nasal, like a nasal spray, and a minute, 30 seconds later, they're up and like nothing happened. All right?
Yep. Saves their life.
Yep. Saves their life.
Yep.
Parents, people in general, drug addicts, if I'm a parent and I know my daughter or my son has a drug problem, they can buy Narcan, they have it in their house. They'll administer the Narcan. We'll come to the house on a drug overdose, and the mother will say, I just gave my son 2 hits of Narcan and nothing happened.
Shit.
Okay, that's not good.
Yeah, usually when nothing happens, I mean, you can give 5 or 6 shots of it, not shots, but nasal.
It doesn't always work, I'm assuming.
No, it doesn't always work. If someone's
you can take in too much and OD.
Yeah, you can obviously you can OD.
Is there pushback from cops in the field?
You want to know what a cop might say, and just to be blunt, fuck them. They're a drug addict. They've been a drug addict for 20 years. They're going to die sooner or later. Don't even give them a Narcan. Just let them die now.
It's a little more brutal than what I've heard.
That's straightforward.
Yeah.
That's what some cops will say. Whereas other cops would say, hey, I knew that kid growing up. nice kid, nice family, got a drug habit. All right, see if you can help them.
Okay.
So it all depends what cop you run into.
The other thing I've heard from cops is by having Narcan, you're letting addicts know that we can bail you out if you overdose.
Well, which is true, but the thing is at some point in time, every addict, they are going to want to get off of it. It's been, I forget which country it was, but I believe they actually, it was, I don't know, they started giving people, they would actually give heroin to people, but the condition was that they needed to undergo counseling when they did it. So they could come to the place.
It sounds like Amsterdam, because Amsterdam is,
It was European. I thought it was one of the S's, like Sweden, Switzerland, one of those, but,
Slovenia? Go ahead.
Maybe, I don't know. But so they had to do counseling, and what they found was that over time they choose on their own that they want to get better and stop using it. Exactly. Yeah. So the Narcan. So you might revive someone today, and then you revive them 2 days from now also. So they keep doing the heroin. But at some point in time, they are going to want to get better or die. It's one or the other. But I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't see much of a downside, basically.
Yeah, no, there's two or three viewpoints on that, and a hardcore cop is the viewpoint that I gave. That's not my viewpoint. Okay, that's not mine. I'm just telling you how some cops would think.
All right, so we're at pretty much the end of our time, but I did want to get this in, and Jay,
I've been Narcan, just to throw that.
Oh, have you really?
I have. Before I got clean, I had.
Would you have been dead?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, if you're not Narcan, if you OD and you pass out and you stop breathing, or your breathing becomes labored, and you're not Narcan and no one finds you, the next step is going to be death. Right. You're not.
And so, Jay, what happened to you? You were good.
This is when I had gone from pills to heroin, and I was actually progressed from sniffing heroin to shooting heroin, and I took too much of my condo, and my cousin found me, thank God, and he brought me to Beverly Hospital, and they Narcan me. I don't know if I would have died or not, but I would just assume I probably would have, and that was my wake up call. That's when I decided I had to get my shit together. So it does save some people, I think, and you know what I mean. But it also can't be a crutch for someone who's like, I can just go out and continue using because the officers up the street have Narcan. You know what I mean? There's two sides. You should have a limit. Each person should have. You know what I mean? You get like 5. After that, it's not that we're not going to not save you, but you can't just come to us every Saturday night and we're going to Narcan you. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be something.
The nasal spray will jam.
There should be a stipulation.
Well, from my experience, people's luck runs out.
Absolutely.
If you continually abuse drugs, obviously heroin and fentanyl more than pills, because heroin and fentanyl will take you in 10 seconds, whereas a pill you might actually pass out and go to sleep for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and if someone finds you, they might be able to bring you back. But with heroin and fentanyl, you're pretty much DOA within moments of shooting that, and if no one finds you, within a couple of minutes, you're done. Yeah. So at some point, your luck is going to run out, and that's where you see whether it's a 40-year-old drug addict, a 50-year-old drug addict. I've never, to my knowledge, I don't ever remember going to a heroin overdose with anyone over the age of 60. They don't live that long. Even 60 is old. Yeah. Mid-50s is old.
Yeah.
It's usually anywhere from 20 to 35, 40. That's kind of the area.
Or they clean their act.
They clean up, yeah.
Hopefully.
I got one more thing, and Cody, I know you had extra questions.
I know.
But Jay, I just want you to see just what a degenerate Cody is. And Dale, I know you're going to like this story. Your first crime wave, do you remember that one? When you were collecting?
Oh, yeah. So, so this was...
How old were you?
I must have been 13 or 14. This is before I started doing Percocet. This was literally just for weed money.
This has nothing to do with, so it's weed, so it's drugs, but
it's drugs, but I wasn't addicted. This was just me being a dumb kid is really what it was. Dumb kid.
I don't know. Some would say ingenious.
Maybe, I don't know. But so I was at lunch one day, and me and my friends, we were talking about scams, and that inspired me. So I went, it inspired me, yeah. So I went home, and I made up I put a lot of effort. I made up this donation can with like our school's logo. I did it up good. It looked like legit. And I went around. See, the thing is, I didn't even know if this was going to work. So I didn't want to put too much effort in, like traveling across town to go do this. So I was just right in my neighborhood, talking to my neighbors. I went door to door and collected money for the high school marching band. And I probably made like $40 or so. So then I go, I buy
$40 worth of candy.
Yeah, but 40.
How old are you at? 13, you said?
Like 13, yeah. No, it was just donation. It was just...
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And
did you ever see the neighbors again? They're like, where's that marching band equipment?
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what happened. So I